Hey everybody, this is Aaron the Pedantic doing a really quick video today. I wanted to say something real quick. So I received a request from a viewer that I not use the swear words whenever I make videos. And I don't swear on purpose typically. It's just something that kind of comes out. I know how to prevent myself from doing it though, just from professional, existence. So I can restrain myself whenever it comes to these videos that are a little bit more on educational, perhaps, or at least just discussing mechanics. Whenever it comes to the streams, which often are just us riffing about things, or we're dealing with some kind of RPG drama or something like that, those all bets are off. But as far as stuff like this one, I think I can deal with that. I can restrain that. And it's really just because, now I know that somebody that helps them. So whatever, I'm cool with it. So today I wanted to talk about initiative. I love initiative. I think initiative is a very interesting concept, and it has a lot of ramifications that maybe a lot of people don't talk about. Maybe they do. All right, so initiative for BX, at least in the OSE book, basically recommends party initiative. And this, somebody just yesterday asked me how I felt about party initiative, how I handled it with BX, because they felt like it got kind of weird whenever you have all these people that need to act, and it just gets kind of chaotic. So what I did, because I had this problem myself, was just by sheer nature of needing to know who's in the front whenever we're encountering things, when they're dealing with traps, because they have dogs, they have hirelings. I need to know who's up where so we can have things figured out. I was just like, I'm just going to use formation. So basically, if you're in the front, then you're seeing them most likely, unless you're being attacked from the side or the back. But for the most part, you just go in order of formation. Who's in the front? And so that's pretty much how I do it, and go from the front to the back, and now this is going to change, obviously, if you say, well, let's send the thief up to do this thing or whatever, they start doing that, then this is when, so it's just who's the closest to the enemy. They get to go first. And this does a lot of different things. First of all, the people that are up front are usually taking the most risk. So this gives them a little bit of a, I wouldn't say incentive, but it's maybe a bit of a reward. They get to do stuff first, typically, because chances are they could be the first one to die, and if it was a bad situation. So this gives them a little something. For those who don't know, initiative in BX, you just roll a d6. You want to roll the highest. Roll the highest, and the highest goes first. The party wins ties. Very simple. And you re-roll every round. So you might go first one round, you might go last the next round, which can be very rough, but it's very tense, and I love it. Anyway, so one of the things that kind of arose from doing initiative that way, and just doing party initiative in general, is that players know that they can game the system. So what they would do is they'd say, okay, well, I'm going to move up. I'm only using a little bit of movement. I'm going to attack. Now I'm going to move back. So that way the next row can go, etc., etc. So you have kind of this cycle, which in real life, if you're actually thinking in terms of, having some kind of simulation, it's kind of ridiculous. When have you ever seen this kind of thing happen? You really don't. You really don't. You have a front line, and then you have some stuff happening behind then, and it's like usually you try to kind of hold it. You do a shield wall thing. Maybe you hurl things over. You just do stuff. Like launch volleys of arrows to get the ones in the back rows. But you don't typically have people just kind of cycling around like that. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Somebody's probably going to find something in the comments where it'll make sense, but I don't think it makes sense. But anyway, so very simple, quick fix. You can move and then attack, or you can attack and then move. So basically you can do, because we're not using opportunity attacks in BX, you can like, let's say you're already there, you're holding the line, you're fighting, you can pull back after you fight, after you do your attack. Somebody else might be able to move in and act. Actually, they can, because we're going in formation order. So someone will be able to move in and take your spot. I don't see any issue with that. And what's great about this is it makes spears more useful, because remember, spears allow you to attack from the second row. So you can thrust in between your shield flanks, or your shield flanks, your shield wall or whatever, and get some extra attacks in. And those are rather safe attacks for the most part, because you're behind a wall of shields typically, or at least some beefy boys and gals. So that has a really cool benefit. Now, then you've got ranged attackers. Now, ranged attackers, they are typically using a lot less, they're taking a lot less risk whenever they're attacking. And to me, I feel like if you're taking less risk, you don't get as much of a reward in general. And this plays out really well if you're using this method, because let's say you're in a crowded hallway and you have, like, maybe a lot of times we have these 10-foot wide hallways in our dungeons. And so you've got, two people next to each other holding the line. You got maybe two people behind them that have spears, hopefully. And then behind that, you've got people that can do ranged attacks, people that can do spells. Well, your ranged attackers, the only resource they're really using is a projectile, right? And theoretically, in this confined space, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. So if they're dealing with a creature that is around the same height or smaller than the people in the front line, you're just going to hit your own people. So what needs to happen then is they need to think a little bit more tactically and maybe pull back into like a T intersection or something, and then they can pull back, spread out, and then pincer or something like that. That way they can get some more attacks on them, or they can just start hurling some things and maybe have a new line that is there to, if they start charging, to receive them. And then your spellcasters, I mean, they're casting spells. Generally speaking, what you'll want to do there is kind of like work with the party to figure out, are we going to be launching a fireball or something? If that's the case, everybody move. I'm going to do this, and then close in, something like that. There needs to be some kind of tactics. It really flows wonderfully whenever you do it this way. Now, I also love AD&D initiative. Now, a lot of people don't like it. Now, the way that I've experienced it has been second edition, so I can't really speak to Gary Gygax's wondrous first edition initiative that I've heard has a lot of very interesting, not mea culpas, but just different like little quirks spread throughout the guide. So I can't speak to that, but basically you have it's an individual initiative. It's rolled every round, and you add a modifier that is based on the action that you are doing. So if you are just going to quickly jab with a knife, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to pull that off faster than somebody who is going to be, hurling, not hurling, but like swinging a two-handed sword. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes spells would have quite lengthy castings. So it would almost guarantee that if you're casting a spell, that you're going to be waiting a bit, which means that people have a chance to interrupt you, which it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It makes people have to think. And this is not in terms of some kind of gamist type of thing. This is in terms of, it's intuitive. It's, I can stab with a dagger faster than you can utter an incantation and do a dance, basically, which makes perfect sense. Same thing with like shooting an arrow or something like that. Although I have heard of people tweaking the values, and makes perfect sense, because not everybody's going to see things the same way. Even though Gygax had a lot of wonderful things that he laid down for everybody, if you take any one person's word on everything, then you're probably not critically thinking enough. So yeah, I do appreciate AD&D's initiative. I know a lot of people don't like it. I think it's even better if you can do it on Roll20 or some kind of VTT. I think it helps. It helps. Now, the reason it helps is because of the fact that all the player has to do is, they've already got their values entered for whatever action that they're going to do. So if this spell has this casting time, or this weapon has this weapon speed, and you just click it, and then it rolls initiative for you, and it goes directly into a tracker, and everybody can see what order everything is going in. So it's very, very, very streamlined. It kind of negates the need for the referee to have to arrange the order. It's already arranged. It's done. You don't have to worry about it. So that's one of the big things that people have complained about, is just how long it takes to constantly do this. And it doesn't really take that long if you're using Virtual Tabletop. I don't like using Virtual Tabletop when I'm running games. So, season to taste, right? So this is one of the reasons why maybe I might want to use something a little bit more simple. But who knows? I may change my thoughts on that in time. Party initiative is kind of harder to do whenever you have a lot of little gamey quirks. So 5th edition actually rewards players for choosing particular subclasses, particular feats, and these kinds of things can have different ways that they work based off of initiative. Basically, there are some classes or subclasses that, they can get bonuses to initiative. If they act, before somebody else acts, then they can get a special bonus, and they can do some kind of awesome critical or whatever. You can add your charisma modifier to your initiative roll, which, bleh. There's all kinds of stuff like that. And so if you try and tweak it, which I believe you should be able to tweak almost anything, then it gets a little bit weird. It makes people upset because, hey, I picked this special feature and I want to get to capitalize on it, and curse you, you're not letting me do it, and I don't appreciate it. So that is one of the things that I don't like about that particular system. DCC, I typically use Party Initiative just because it's quicker. No, you can absolutely do what you want there. I have had people complain whenever that happens, because sometimes the enemies win initiative, and that means that there's this large sustained assault that the party is having to endure, and that it gets kind of rough whenever they do it that way. So I guess the moral of the story is, think of initiative. Think about the ramifications that it has on your game. Don't just do something just because it's in the book and that's what it says. And if there's something that isn't working, or that is playing weird, or, something, then fix it. Just fix it. If your players are not willing to work with you on that, talk to them about it. See if you can help them understand what your particular issue is with it. Now, the players that I have, whenever I wanted to do the formation thing, they didn't care. That's fine. They didn't have any issues with it. Same thing whenever I said, okay, you can move and attack and move, whatever. They're cool with it. They understand that there's a particular thing I'm going for, and this helps us get there. And that seems to resonate with them. Not all players are like that. So just be prepared that if you want to tweak these things, there are some players that are going to be a little bit harder headed about it than others. And I'm not going to say that that's just a new school thing. I think that that's a fallacy, because I have seen a lot of people that are absolute purists when it comes to AD&D, to which I feel like they're missing the point. But I will say that, and this is kind of a tangent at this point, I'm sorry, that tweaking with AD&D is, maybe you could get away with not tweaking AD&D a lot more than you could with BX or OD&D, because there's not a whole lot there, really. There's a lot of gaps to fill, basically. That's a whole other conversation. Anyway, so if you have something to say about initiative, maybe you have your own particular way of handling it that's really cool, Now I know there's gonna be people that are gonna be like, "Oh, here's the Professor Dungeon Master way of handling it." I've already seen it, but you can talk about it. Of course, you can tell me what you like about it. Um, I've seen a whole lot of different ways it's handled, and I'm cool with all of them. Just do your thing, do your thing. Nobody knows how to run your game better than you do. So, y'all have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, and maybe a video coming soon. I don't know. There are topics. I know there's drama to discuss next week. So looking forward to that. Actually, next week I think is the Gonzo cast. So y'all have a wonderful day. Take care.